first person on stream today.
ボーダムーラファーミングを引き換えました。
G69 位デュックリディームド、ボーダムオーラファーミング。
ようこそ、ようこそ。
G69 位デュックジャストログドイン。
afternoon, good evening. Where is it? Where is it? Here. I want to watch this before I start Valheiming. Check the alert if it's working. Yokoso. It is working good.
Who's B11's just logged in.
I have my good old trusty coffee. Hopefully this coffee is gonna keep me up until like 8 hours, 9 hours from now, so I can go back to my usual stream schedule. Otherwise, I'm gonna sleep early again, and then wake up early again, and then still not get back to the usual stream schedule. Then I'll be staring into nothingness in the morning, because I can't stream if it's super hot in the morning. That's why I stream at midnight and sleep in the morning. Anyways, oh, what's up, by the way? G6. How are we today? Where this? Until today, I still didn't try and learn a Wika combo. I can probably figure it out, but I really don't feel like practicing a Wika combo. Probably it just doesn't work consistently with my skill level and my ping. Yeah, whatever, neighbor doggo. Oh wait, fuck. Of course I didn't press the browser audio. My bad.
Niche, but like that could have been
That's
a
working now,
thing.
right?
Dragon Strike stuff was like kind of fake. But you get the point, right? Before Mawika, we didn't really have any actual big jump in power level that
Yep,
didn't
it
come with
is.
caveats. And Mawika, well, threw balance out of the window. And what followed after Mawika was the rest of the cast trying to catch up. And for a while, they couldn't until eventually they did. And then
Hey,
people
thanks for the
started
usual daily
properly looking at Mawika's cancels. I made a
So
video
luck
about
your
Mawika combos
breakfast.
talking
What? So luck your breakfast. What? What? What is it this time,
あり
G6?
がとうございます、キラン。ゲー
about
ムフォ
the
ーザ、デイ
improved
リーオーハリ
combos,
ングス。
the
So lunch your breakfast? Oh. I mean, that's what I do. Basically, my breakfast is dinner here, since that's the time where I usually wake up. And then around the end of my stream is around breakfast, which I turn into my dinner and then go to sleep. But I don't know, maybe it's the weather. It's super hot. I mean, sometimes it rains, which is good. I mean, so long as it doesn't flood. Maybe it's because of the weather that I don't know. My body is telling me, hey, it's morning. You shouldn't go to sleep yet because it's so hot. Ah, that's why I can't go back to my usual stream schedule yet. Who knows? Maybe this coffee is gonna help me stay up until later. Story brig improvement. How many pages is it now? Curious. What pages are you using? Like Times New Roman with the normal border and A4 paper? Is that the normal Microsoft? Wait, does phone thingamajig have Microsoft, or are you just using Notes? Word doc? Yeah. Are they using A4 bond paper? Is it also called bond paper everywhere else, or is it like white paper or some weird name? It's A4, right? That's the standard size nowadays. And then there's like the border on left and right is like 1 inch something. And you're using it in Times New Roman, the OG font, or what's the default one they use nowadays? Make idea word full story. Wait, what? What do you mean phone me make idea word full story? Like you made your phone very full of the story you're writing. When text doesn't consume that much storage, right? So you should be fine in the storage department.
CDC combos that allow you
Hopefully
to
my
do
YouTube
this, and
doesn't
the
lag.
hands-off combo that allows you to do this. Learning about
Wait, what was it again?
talking about the improved combos, the CDC
Phone for ideas, word for writing the full story. Is it Word on your phone, or are you using your laptop or something? Doesn't phone have Word as well? Or you're writing on your PC? Thankfully, I thought you were writing on your phone this whole time because the other time when I asked you, you said you were writing on your phone. That would have sucked. Like using the tiny keypad key touchscreen thingamajig writing. That's a horrible experience. That time just idea. Okay, cool. Well, I hope it goes well. Hope you get some bunch of like epic ideas coming here and there. And if ever you get those epic ideas, I hope you have time to write them down before you forget about them.
combos that allow you to do this, and the hands-off combo that allows you to do this. Learning about these combos and implementing them gave Maoika a lot more access to power outside of her premium teams. Technically, it did also improve her premium teams to some extent, but most of the improvements to her premium teams were things we already knew about or were relatively minor
But I
compared
don't even
to
know
the
nowadays
combos that we were able to
what is
do on her
Movika's
release.
premium
And
team.
so the teams that benefited the most from
I assume it's still Melt with Ian San C6 and Bennett C6 and Citlali, of course. I think Shilonen is not no longer part of her C6, but I still use Citlali. I mean not Citlali, Shilonen. I still use Shilonen because it's much easier to play. The Ianson Bennett Movika team is weird. Especially if you don't have C6 Iansan. Your Iansan uptime, your attack buff from Iansan uptime is horrible. Like, who are you gonna use first, Bennett burst or Iansan burst? I think you're
キラン、
supposed to do
レーウルディーム
Iansan
ド、
burst,
ボーダムオーラファーミング。
then Bennett burst. But you're gonna run out of Iansan burst fast if you're not C6. So yeah, if you don't have C6 Iansan, it's probably Shilonen on a Mavika team premium. Otherwise, it's probably Iansan C6 replacing Shilonen on the premium team. That's if the premium team they're talking about is still the Melt Mavika.
Maoika combos getting better, or the alternative teams. So Overload
You're gonna make story dark. Like what kind of dark? Like gory? Gory, is that the term? Gory? Like a bunch of, I don't know, intestines like flying all over the place. That's gory. Like, I don't like movies like that. Like Saw. You guys probably watch Saw, right? It actually has an interesting plot twist. I think that was Saw 7. I think I've seen most of the Saw movies. It's an interesting movie, but I don't like the gory part. Is that the term? Let me search gory. You know, where a bunch of particles go all over go all over the place. Involving proportion, bloodshed, yeah, gory. Sad and depressing. That I like more than gory. Like dark as in sad. Because then you can like somehow think it could be relatable or something. I mean, I don't want to relate to it, but you know, can't. Yeah, if you can relate, nothing you can do about it. Just sad and depressing. I actually like movies like that, so long as they and the protagonist wins in the end. Imagine G6 writing something, and it will be the first time ever that the protagonist actually loses. Actually, it probably happened already before. You guys can do you guys remember any movies where the protagonist lose? Probably some alien stuff, I think. It happens. I've seen a few. I just don't remember the title. There's this one alien movie where they are in a spaceship thingamajig. I think they're going to Mars or they're trying to find other planets that could be inhabitable. And then they found a creature thingy, it's a slime thingy creature, and then it turned out to be hostile. Then it killed most of the crew members, but in the end, uh, they managed to exit to the what do you call that pod? Escape pod, and then also the thingamajig, also the alien managed to sneak into one of the pods, but they end up managed to escape in the end. But plot twist, the human that escaped on the escape pod uh, went the other way, went into the vast open space, while the alien is on the other escape pod that went to Earth. So yeah, uh, it was a very overpowered alien slime thingy that can extend its body thingy. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, it can kill you in seconds. I don't know the title of that movie. I don't know why I still remember that movie. But basically, the humans lose in that movie, so protagonists lose. That's one of it, an example that I can think of where the protagonist loses. I don't even know if there's a protagonist in that movie. I assume it's the humans because we are humans possesses and that. I don't know. Is that a title? I'm in the process. I don't know. It's just a slime thingy creature where it. What's an example? It's like a mind flayer. I think you know how Stranger Things creature is. Do you count that as a slime thing? The mind flayer? No, it's not even the mind flayer. The mind flayer is the thing, the cloud thingy. Well, what's the other creature in Stranger Things? It's something like that, where basically if it grabs you just by an inch, it easily breaks your your bones, and then it can extend its, I don't know, mass. It extends its mass. It started as a tiny slime thingy, but it can easily extend itself. It grew bigger basically with no limit. I don't know if there's a limit. I forgot what that movie was about. I don't even know why I watched that movie back then. But it doesn't. I mean, no, it doesn't possess the human. It just breaks its bones. I mean, it could have. I don't know. It may have looked like it can possess the human, but it's probably just using its own slime thingamajig to move. Have you finished My Hero Academia G6? Do you have experience writing stories? You can do research yourself. Writing stories isn't actually that simple. You have to think about plot, character development. At some point, you might even want to put a backstory on some characters. My no first time. Wait, what do you mean no first time? Oh, you mean it's your first time or no experience writing story? If you finish My Hero Academia, there's a lot of character development in throughout this series that I really like. You could learn from that. Like most of the characters there have some roles. Like let me tell you, let me show you. My Hero Academia has, and then the writer went back to each and every one of them except Maneta. What's this dude's name again? The pervert tiny creature. Uh, Manato, the Acroman character. Of course, they're gonna have balls for forehead. Yeah, that dude. I don't know if that dude has any character development. He's just there for comic relief. Especially Shoto Todoroki on that story. You finish, right? Because I'm gonna talk about how they made, like, we didn't. What's his name? Butter's name again? Toya, the blue flame dude. That's part of Shoto's like basically character development. Yeah, they 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 have Toya story around Shoto. As for Ochako, they have, what's the lady's name again? The one where he drinks your blood. What's her name? Why did I forget her name? I just watched it like a couple of days ago, weeks ago. Himiko. Yeah, they have story around Himiko and Ochako. Uh, I Ada. I mean, it was part in the earlier seasons where Ada has some character development. So most probably forgot about Ada and his brother being the team. Yeah, was up Hydra Lucifer. And then Tsuyu, I forgot about Tsuyu's character development, but I'm pretty sure there's some in the background. Ijiro, this is the tentacle, right? Ijiro is part of like a race thingy-majig. That's a character development. He's like a, what do you call, representative of race thingy-majig character development. Something like that. User is based on dreams and DD. What's DD? And Momo, I don't know, but I forgot. I don't know what character development they did with Momo. And it's something about Momo's leadership thingamajig, dreams, and that's DD is term for short for character development. Yeah, Hero Academia. Did you finish Hero Academia already, Hydra? Here's a Kirishima's lecture guy. Oh wait, my. Yeah, yeah. I only read Jiro. Electro guy. I like Electro guy, especially with the what's her name again? Headphone Jack. Actually, Headphone Jack is my favorite character in My Hero Academia. What's the tentacle dude's name? Which one of him is here? Even that dude has some part around the end. Has some character development around the end. As soon as it came, no ways. I wasn't watching anime around the time My Hero Academia was about to end, but that was fairly recent, right? 'Cause there was one time where I wasn't able to stream for a bunch because I tried finishing Hero Academia within 3 sitting, and then Tokoyami. I don't know. See, it's just like it's a bit corny though. I don't know. Corny is not the term. What's the term? Let's just stick with corny. I don't know. English is hard. It's corny though that they added every single student against the final battle. Like even Manato. Why do I no Minato is the yellow flash. Even Manato throws some purple balls at All Might. I know, not All Might. All for One. Delusion disorder. I see. Mineta. Close enough. It's Mineta. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna forget that name as well. Again, Manato is like a ZZZ character. Minato is the yellow flash. Like also they went with the what's that dude, the traitor student. They gave her like I mean they they added him on in the end. Although in the beginning he didn't actually do much. He saved Deco once. I wouldn't call it saving. Maybe just prevented uh, damage. The dude with a glowy with the shiny belt. You know, they even added like the invisible lady. You know the one with the invisible lady, the one the invisible lady caught. Yeah, shiny belly button guy. Like I like how they made this story. Like most if not all of the characters they made have some part in the story. Not just some dude that they added and then forgot about it. That's good writing. I don't know, I'm not a critic as well, so who am I to say? But it's just corny that some students, group of students, is going like head to head with All for One, like Headphone Jock and what's the shadow dude's name? Fumikage. I'm pretty sure this is him. They 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 supported Hawks against uh, All Might, which is sure they didn't even graduate yet. They're like the generation of miracles in My Hero Academia. If there were Kuroko no Basket, the Deco and the others class is like the generation of
キ
miracles.
ラン、
Like all of
英語
them
リ
are
ディームド、
actually
ボーダ
good
ムオーラファーミング。
characters, like have decent powers. Also, Game of Thrones. Have you watched Game of Thrones? G6. If you want to kill some characters in your story, kill them right, kill them the correct way, kill them in some way that would make the audience say, "What the fuck?" Playing Genshin later, in a few hours. But I will be Valheiming after I watch this uh Mavrika video. Just watch JJK. Eventually, no spoilers. I haven't watched. I mean, I think I'm up to date with Jujutsu anime. Yeah, I hope they kill everyone in a good way, like how they kill characters in Game of Thrones. Ex- on the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones, I don't know about the late, like around the end of Game of Thrones, they fell off in writing. It's probably because George R. Martin refused to finish his book, so that the show writers just write up some whatever they thought of. Everyone will get if G6 story if everyone ends up dead in G6 story, I might have something to do about it. Good all around. I mean, it's alright. I hate to agree with everyone's opinion about the ending of Game of Thrones, but it's not really that great of an ending. So in some ways, I agree with other critics or something on how Game of Thrones ended. It sucks. Like, why would you make Bran the king? Huh? Bran is like a supporting character, like a huge supporting character, like one of the main supporting character, but not the type of character that you would want to be king. That's Bran, right? Unless I forgot their names. But if I come the last season, yeah, exactly. Normally I wouldn't be biased in like my opinions and movies that I watch, but I don't know. I agree with most of what most people are think criticizing about the Game of Thrones ending. I don't know. There was it was 8 seasons or 7. Even the previous season, before the last season, I think that's when they started to fell off. Their brand is the one who didn't have it. Yeah, okay, I got the name right then. The Night Raven Eye, whatever that title is, I forgot. Original concept had to be erased because it go against the rule. What do you mean some original concepts had to be erased? I don't know. I don't think George R. Martin would ever finish the book. I think he's just riding on the Game of Thrones is famous, so I'm just gonna let them finish the series, the movie or the series or the show. Show. I'm just gonna let them finish the show. I'm not gonna finish my book anymore. I mean, he's probably rich already, right? I even saw if I was a writer like him, I would like to finish my book at least. Maybe he's like having some writer's block, or is that what they call? Yeah, I finished my coffee. There are things that go against how the story works. Mm, I guess yeah. Depends on how. Depends on their world building. That is. That's also one of the hard thing, I presume, in like writing stories. The world building itself. At least you have freedom on how you want to make your world itself. You could just make your own rules in between writing chapters. But just don't forget to look back at the rules you made on the earlier chapters that you wrote, because otherwise people are gonna find out that you made this rule in the beginning and then for some reason it doesn't make sense anymore on the on the latest chapters. It's like what? That's gonna ruin the world building. Needs to be perfect to satisfy the rules of the story. I don't exactly know what you mean, but I hope it makes sense. Only you know how it's gonna turn out. But hopefully I get to read your story someday. Ideally, I'd like to watch, because I don't read. Reading is for smart people. I'm not smart.
Malika got significantly better with people figuring out how to do the combos. VII Malika also got a lot better, but also Melt Malika now had an actual real reason to run double cryo over Sitlali by herself, past just like making it easier to play. You could actually just get more melts with double cryo because you could change your combos to have more attacks that apply pyro. With all of that in mind, Malika right now is in a pretty good spot in terms of how she performs in today's meta. And this batch
Already seen the ending. Maybe you should write a summary about that, because you never know, you might forget how you wrote your ending or how you imagine your ending. No, just to be safe. But make sure no one can see where you write your ending. That would be a huge spoiler.
actually helped that to some extent. Let's talk about the team that's on screen right now. Actually, no, before we do that, as usual for the Ask the Jeff stuff,
Is it like a short story or one up movie series chapter thingy, or do you have like a huge plan? Like, is it gonna be like One Piece where it's gonna take years to finish, or is it like a movie, like one movie worth of a story? Or is there an episode to each chapter? Okay, okay, okay.
stuff. We start by talking about the unit's overall place in the meta, and then we move on to questions from you guys. In order to properly talk about her place in the meta, we kind of need to talk about this team. This team is painful. With the release of the Celestial Gift artifact set, this team got better, and it was already relatively good. But the biggest problem with it is that it's very inconsistent. If you want to play this team, the main idea behind it is instead of doing Melt with Itlali, you do Vape with Mona, and
4 to 5
Vape is
seasons. That's a lot.
less damage, but Mona's
It's gonna take you
numbers,
some
the
time,
buffs
but
that she
you know,
gives are
just
way
just chill at your own pace. Don't stress yourself, 'cause that's gonna, I don't know, block something, mental writer's block you in between. I think. No, no, I don't write. I tried to write one time, but words are so hard. English is hard. I can I tend to like You guys probably know it, especially when I'm doing reviews or explaining rotations or whatever Genshin stuff that I explain. I tend to explain it in a long version way because I can't find the right words to explain it shorter. That's why I'm a bad writer in that sense. Instead of I could have written this in like I don't know 20 words. I end up writing it in 50 words instead because I don't know how to describe or explain or ex or see what I mean? English is hard. Or portray portray a scenario in a few words because English is hard. As a professional, I call you a madman. I mean, is a madman in a good way? Did he say it's a madman in a good way? What kind of professional are we talking about? A professional therapist or a professional writer?
Higher than what Lali gives. If you only use Mona's E as your Hydro application, this team is worse than the Lali team because while Vape allows you to get more reactions per Hydro application, Mona just doesn't have Hydro application that lasts for very long. However, you can use Sugros's Burst and absorb.
The Zoya lover. Okay, okay. Well, that spoiled him then, or her, because you told him or her about the story already.
Hydro on that. And against enemies that don't move, there are setups to make that consistent. I've been practicing this team for the past like 10 hours of stream content over the past 2 days. And now I get it, honestly, relatively consistently.
Is this on
Obviously, though, this
account?
is still against enemies.
Because if this is on the Jep's account, this is a C6 Mona, and that's
that don't
that's
move. And this team has a pretty big issue against enemies that move. Actually, two pretty big issues on the enemies that move. The rotation that relies on Sucrose Burst for Hydro application, well, you need to absorb a Hydro on the Sucrose Burst. And in order to...
Yes, he said. It's fine. His sacrifice will not be in vain. There are more people that will be reading your story.
Do that, you need an enemy that has a Hydro Aura to be in the middle of Sucrose's Burst. So if the enemy moves, it won't be in the middle of Sucrose's Burst anymore, and then it doesn't absorb Hydro, and then you're playing Mono Pyro, but worse. But even on the rotation that isn't looking at Hydro Absorption on Sucrose, Mona's E has the exact same problem. You need the enemy to stay in place because its AoE is really small. I wanted to talk about this team first because it's gotten a lot of traction lately with people doing dire wolf clears with this team, and I wanted to address it a little bit. It is a very strong team, but it is significantly not just harder to play, but also less consistent than the Melt Sitlali or the Melt Mawika teams. Also, it's not just the setups and the inconsistency. The combos that allow this team to be better than the Melt teams in specific scenarios are also very difficult. In Melt, you're relatively limited in terms of what combos you can do because you just don't have enough cryo to allow you to react a lot of hits. Because of that, you have to intentionally do slightly slower combos that get less hits so that you don't accidentally overtake the aura on the enemy and apply Pyro, which is obviously going to prevent you from melting with Mawika, and then you're playing Melt Lali, which is obviously very, very bad. Which means that in the Melt team, the setup obviously still has some potential issues, right? You need to learn how to do the setups, but the actual combo execution isn't that difficult. There are combos that apply more cryo, or that get more melts,
think
but
animators are rare. I
generally
mean,
those
there might be
combos are
plenty of
either a
animators
combo
out
where you
there.
open with a Maoika charge attack before the burst, which is honestly just like a very small DPS increase, so it's not really that meaningful. The DPS increase is so small for how difficult it is to execute that I just don't think it's worth looking at too much. Or the combos that rely on Seatlali's inconsistent Spirit Skull Vessel explosion timing to get an extra hit of cryo after Maoika's burst. Now that we have the dummy, and the dummy has combat logs, I was actually able to
Wait, that's new?
confirm for sure for certain
Wait, that's
what I
cool.
had been suspecting
I
for
haven't
a long
seen
time,
that
which is
before.
that the timing of the explosion of the Spirit Skull Vessel is not consistent. But getting back to how that affects the Mel team versus this one, those relatively difficult things are either not
That's
consistent
cool
or
that
not a
they
lot of
added
DPS
that in
increase,
the
which
test
means that
dummy.
just relatively an intermediate execution of a Mel Maoika team honestly just gets
Names are the worst. Like, what do you mean? Like making names for your
pretty
characters?
close to the DPS that you could hope to get by learning better combos. Whereas in this team, that's not the case. The difference in DPS between the optimal combos when you're not limited by your cryo application, because as much as Mona's Hydro is not long duration, it's not that slow. It's just not long duration. And also, Hydro allows you to get 2 pyro reactions every time you apply it, whereas cryo only allows 1. So you're not really limited by your application at all. So you can kind of just do the best possible combos, but the best possible combos are a lot harder to execute. All of this to say, this shit's hard. This shit's real hard, and I don't think this is a team that matters for most people. That should matter for most people. To some extent, you can make the team a little bit easier and make it a little bit more consistent by just not trying to make the Sucrose burst work. You'll still have the issue of if you're relying on Mona's E for Hydro application, if the enemy moves out of range of this relatively small circle, she stops applying Hydro. But so long as the enemy is staying in that circle, if you do that, this is still a pretty good team. I do think that it's pretty impactful, it's pretty meaningful, because we just got the banners revealed today as of recording this, and Eonson is not on there, so sucks to be you if you don't have Eonson cons, I guess. Because this team relies pretty heavily on Eonson C6, otherwise your Eonson burst duration
this
runs
banner,
out way too
I
early.
probably won't go for
But the only thing you really
Maoika
need is
cons on
C6
my
Eonson.
MA
And even
because
then,
of
like
the
if you
4
don't
stars.
have it, it's like okay. But Sucrose doesn't
If
need
Eonson was
cons.
there, I might
Mona's
have
cons are
considered.
good. But, well, she's a standard character, and she's available on the selector, so they're a lot easier
I'll
to
just stick
get
to the
access
weapon
to.
for now.
C1 matters, C2 matters a lot more than C1 does. C4 is good, but only if you're not overcapped on crit, which I am, so for me, it's kind of unfortunate. What I'm getting at here is that putting this team together is a little bit...
Albion online. Has anyone played Albion? Is it a good game?
easier on a newer account than putting together the
Keep getting
Overload team that is
Albion
also reliant on Eon's C6, but on top of that is also pretty reliant on Shavar's C6, or the Melt team, which is also reliant on Eon's C6, but that requires an extra limited 5-star. So the fact that this team does perform pretty well, I think is pretty meaningful. But for people that are like really worried that, especially with how they've been designing characters lately, that in order to make a character actually perform, they'll need to pull for like 3 characters to build a full team.
Like
it's a lot easier to do
rotation
that for Maoika right now. So with that out of the way, we can talk about her place in the meta with the other teams as well. Right now, Maoika is not the best carry in the game. Obviously, Dubai is currently out, but Maoika's performance varies a lot depending on how good you are at the game and which teams you're using. And she basically ranges from anywhere between like the 2nd best carry to like the 8th best carry. Just in terms of DPS, maybe not the 2nd, but the fact that she has access to such a varied assortment of archetypes allows her a lot more flexibility when it comes to the content she can do, which makes her kind of a bit more valuable in my eyes than a character like Nephra Flynn's, assuming obviously you're able to do those combos. But if you're not doing these combos really, really well...
Bro, I have a feeling that most of these Naya characters are gonna be Maoika level DPS or even higher. Because the Nod-Krai characters are already higher than Maoika. That's why I'm worried about Skirk. Because they rerun Skirk along with Scofier rerun, which is very saucy. They're like trying to sell them uh, together so they can power creep them, even power creep them together as well. Because if they had rerun Scofier around the end of the patch, where we will have leaks about the first uh, Snezhnaya cast, the first few characters in the Snezhnaya cast, people might start like skipping Scofier, thinking that Skirt Premium might be still okay, but not or gonna be not better than the Snezhnaya cast or something. Power creep is already catching up, which is worrisome for newer accounts, but it's fine. The only thing you're missing is a fearless, fearless attempt anyway. Uh, yeah, Abyss is still clearable even for newer accounts. Heck, my EU account is clearing Abyss somewhat consistently for now because they didn't counter Nefer and Clintz yet because those are the only characters I have on my EU. But still, newer accounts is still okay as long as you have the Nod-Krai DPSS. Otherwise, good luck. Stellar Freeze.
Mawika's honestly not
I
that
don't know.
good,
They did.
which is
I
I
don't
think
think they're
something
gonna
that
add Stellar
more
Freeze.
casual players aren't maybe realizing. Like people that are in tune with
Because we were also thinking about Lunar Freeze, but it didn't turn out to be the case. Because Lunar Freeze would have kept Skirk viable for a very, very long time if Lunar Freeze was a thing, but it wasn't. But if Stellar Freeze is a thing, then that would keep Skirk alive for a while. Since you know the fourth character on a Skirk team is still uh, it could be anyone, Mona, Shenhe, Yelan, Citlali. You could replace that with a Stellar Freeze if they decide to add a Stellar Freeze character. That would that would buff Skirk a lot. But I don't think they're gonna do that because they already announced Stellar Reaction. I mean, technically not announced, but leaked. But the leak is only Stellar Swirl and Stellar Superconduct, which is worrisome for Skirk. Skirk can still generate Void Rip with Electro though. That's fine. So you can still cook up some Stellar Superconduct Skirk. Did I say Void Rip? I said Void Rip, not. Skirk can generate Void Rip with Superconduct. It's not just Freeze Reaction that generates Void Rip. Superconduct as well. So even if you lose some of Skirk's kit, but if they add a Electro Stellar Superconduct character that works well with Skirk, then I guess Skirk is still safe for a while. Otherwise, if they add Cryo, then it's still hard if they add a Cryo Stellar Superconduct character because you're gonna have to replace. I know who are you gonna replace? Yeah, you're gonna replace the fourth character, but then again, you don't have any electro characters.
キラン、レイウリディームド、ボーダム
So
オーラフ
Stellar
ァーミング。
Superconduct Skirt can be saved if there's an electro character that carries the Stellar Superconduct reaction on its kit. That would still make Skirk safe for a while. But if they don't release an electro character, at least a good electro character on this stellar superconduct enabler. Then Skirk is stuck with freeze reaction with the old team that she has. I don't know. Sarita could still be a viable fourth character on a Skirk team. Who knows?
With the Genshin community as a whole, but that aren't too invested in the meta portion of it, that just hear secondhand information about the meta, probably tend to overestimate Maoika. Maoika is not nearly as good as a lot of people think when you're not doing very optimized gameplay. A lot of people will
Yeah, it's
actually get better
fine.
results on
Mavica
some
still
other
clears
characters
without the
that are
optimized
considered
gameplay.
worse or
Or without
similar.
the
Right? Characters like
combo.
Flynn's, for example, for people that aren't doing min-maxed Maoika combos, will perform significantly better than Maoika. Even characters like Varka, right?
Look
Varka got a lot
Kieran
stronger this
second.
patch, and because he's comparatively significantly easier to play, for a lot of people,
Oh,
Varka
thanks for the
can
ping.
actually outperform Maoika. In the current Genshin meta with Shizunoya right around the corner,
Hey,
I would
hey
say
again,
that
Hydra Lucifer.
Maoika is a character that if you are willing to learn the combos and you think you'll be able to learn the combos, is
That's the
honestly
question. Are
still
you guys
pretty
willing to learn the
worth to get.
combo?
She's relatively
The
flexible,
Mavica
both in terms
combo?
of the content she can do
Because I'm not.
and the teams she can use, which allows her to very often be usable
It's
against at
kind of
least one of the
restricting
three
me
Stygian bosses.
skill
So you
wise.
can
I'm not
use your other
that
characters
good.
against the other ones, and then Maoika will help you for whichever one is remaining, often
And
more than one
ping
of the three
wise,
Stygian bosses. But if you're not
I
willing to
have
learn those
problem.
combos, Maoika is not that great,
the
and I don't think she's
that one
necessarily
that you're
worth
seeing
picking
on the
up,
screen right now.
considering how much the power creep has picked up, and considering what's right around the corner with all the stellar bullshit.
Everything's for the
But yeah, that's pretty much it for Maoika's current place in the meta. Actually, that's it for Maoika's place in the meta as a carry. As a support, Maoika's kind of an interesting one, where in a lot of teams with weaker carries, Maoika's support is really just like dual carry, with Maoika making up for your carry being dog shit, or with Maoika actually having a real reason to be used in a dual carry team because both Maoika and your carry have relatively short uptime for their high DPS window, right? Once Maoika burst expires, her damage goes a lot or becomes a lot lower. So if your setups aren't that long, you'll end up doing some non-burst buffed charge attacks on Maoika, and that's obviously not that strong. So if you have other carries with short field time, characters like Ploin, characters like Veressa doesn't necessarily have short field time, but
supposed to build Mavica? Yeah, same as what she's been built all this time. 4-piece codex, attacks, sand, spiral goblet, crit damage circlet usually because you get 40% crit rate from the codex set. If you're playing melt, it's most of the time it's better to have an EM uh, sands, but I'm too lazy to switch around builds. That's why I keep my Mavica on attack sands all the time and just aim for EM substats on the other pieces. 66%? Is that with or without codex crit rate already? Because if so, you're overcap already. You might wanna, switch around. 2180, that'll be 6180. That's a bit low, but yeah, just keep farming. Just keep farming, just keep farming. Da, 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 da. Hey, once you're done with your sky farming G6, you might want to go back to codex farming. Who are your other Natlan characters again? Is there someone that wants good Cinder City pieces? I haven't started farming again for codex. Well, there's still one more day left in the outbreak. If you still have some fragiles, you could still use it on the outbreak. Can get a bunch more. No one needs Cinder in your team. Wait, don't you have Natlan DPS? Yes, if no, then just don't farm it for now. Supply and Sanchaska, that's it. Yeah, it's reasonable for you to go back to Codex. You might want EM pieces on Lali that has a bunch of energy recharge. As for Yansan, attack pieces with a bunch of energy recharge and maybe crit rate if you're running Fab. So I have to start building our run. You don't need to build like min-max or run build. He doesn't do that much damage anyway, but he can easily trigger Cinder CT, so you can just slap in any 4-piece Cinder CT. Kinich and Chaska. That's good. You get to double dip in the codex set, same as G6 with Chaska and Movika. Wait, do you have Movika G6? Building Flints, setting for Columbina or Sitlali. But you don't have Movika, right, Hydra? I don't think you might want to go for Sitlali if you don't have Movika. Oh, you have Movika, okay, then Sitlali is alright again. But there are many teams already, as what you can see in what I'm watching here. You can do Overload Movika, Witch Movika, which is probably harder to optimize. But if you want to play easy Movika, then Melt Movika is probably the easiest to play. You don't need to learn the very skilled combos. You have Movika. Okay, 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 cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Once you're finished with your, who was it that is not built yet? Nefer, right? G6. Not sure if once you got your EM pieces, you could go back to Codex, I guess. Chevy, yeah, you don't need to build Chevy, just Strongbox Songs of Days Pass. It's easy to build 4-piece on Chevy. She, she's not demanding on stats. She just wants an HP, Sands, Goblet, and Circlet. So once you got an HP Sands Goblet or Circlet, like 2 of those pieces on your strong boxing, then you're good. On the Songs of Days Pass. And Melt has higher multiplier compared to Overload, right? Yeah, but Jabrus makes Overload competitive, especially at C6. But even at C0 Chavi, the Movika team can still clear, especially Abyss, since Abyss is easier. Depends on the content, of course. Also, in an Overload team Movika, you don't have to worry about rotation timings. I forgot looking at your account, Hydra, so I can't say who is a good pull for your account. Who are your Nod-Krai characters? Columbina is good to have in an account, especially if you have Nod-Krai characters. It boosts up your DPS. Only Flints. You don't have Inefa as well? You might wanna get Inefa first for Columbina, but we don't know when Inefa might rerun. You can, yeah, I think Columbina might be better for you. Then you can just do the witch flints with facial and sucrose. Of course, do their homework. That's a good team already. You don't need an alpha if you're going for one character. I don't even think you should go for an alpha if you get Columbina. Columbina, facial sucrose is good enough already. An alpha is better, but you might want to save up for other characters, especially with Snezhnaya coming up.
Damage falls off a cliff once she runs out of skills, then using dual carry type teams becomes pretty appealing. I mean, right now it's mostly those two because you have good uptime on your buffs in overload teams that allows you to do 2 relatively short field time.
Like I was clearing Fearless with Witch Flints. That's how good that team is. I mean, it doesn't work on like most most scenarios. I haven't tried yet. I haven't played Genshin as much yet in this Stygian. I don't know if which Flints can beat this dude, but possibly. I think I used Zibai on this team, so I don't know. I used Flints on the first side, but I used the Colombina version with Inafa because I have Inafa, so I have to use Inafa. I haven't tried the witch Flints in a while, but it is still good. I have C6 facial, so that matters a bit. And I have Colombina on that team as well, so that also matters a bit. I have C6, I know, but apparently I needed Colombina on the Flynn's team against the first boss, the Animal Wolf. The I know version well, on my Flynn's was not enough DPS against the Wolf, so I had to use Colombina there for the extra damage, and I just used I know instead on my Zubai team against this dude, the Open-Eyed. What is that his name? Open-Eyed
Carries and still have pretty much all of
Watcher.
your damage buff. But this is not something
Watch
that's
Sentry.
unique to these characters or to these teams, and it's very possible this will
Aaron,
stick
Flint,
around.
Convent, Nicole, and Fishon. Yeah, but you don't have a shred. That would suck against a high resistant enemies. Uh, do you have Nicole already? You can use Nicole on your other teams, I guess, but you can probably just use Sucrose there. The only time you'd want double Hydro in that scenario, Flint, Sino, Colombina, is if your Colombina needs more energy. But if possible, you'd want solo Hydro and just work around how much energy Colombina wants. Then yeah, I know doesn't do much there at all, especially since you already have Hydro application. That's the only thing that I know does in that team, but you already have Colombina, so I know doesn't help that much. So it's better to just go with Witch. Nicole without Witch, that's nah, I don't know about that. Nicole doesn't do much in that team. Nicole is only good. I mean, is only much better if you have multiple characters that does damage since Nicole's attack buff is team wide. The official Nicole is fine, I guess, since you already have Witch. Both of them are Witch. That activates the Witch synergy. I know on Cinder City, no, Cinder City doesn't shred. It's a damage percent buff. Your source of shred on Flint's team is VV, Viridescent on animal character. That's why Sucrose is good on that team. You could also use Shilonen, but why use Shilonen when you can use Sucrose? When, Sucrose also buffs EM, which is good on a Flint's team. Damage percent doesn't do much on a Flint's team. Is VV the only artifact that shreds? Nope. Deepwood shreds as well, but it's only for Dendro. Dendro shred. There is no shred for uh what's the other one? There's no animal shred artifact. That's the only artifact that doesn't have a shred. Geo doesn't have a shred as well, but if you put two Geo on the team, activates Geo resonance. I believe that has shred, so it's fine. Yeah, VV doesn't shred animal. It shreds the element that you are swirling, but uh it doesn't shred animal. Yeah, Deepwood is Dendro shred. VV is either pyro, hydro, electro, or cryo shred, but it doesn't shred animal, if I remember correctly, which I'm pretty sure it doesn't shred animal. That's why VV is not good on a Shao or a Wanderer team because, well, that's why they're putting what's her name, Farzan on Tenacity, or I don't know, uh, Noblesse, because the VV doesn't help Shao teams or animal DPS at all. It just shreds the other element, but the question is the other element in the Shao team or Wanderer team doing that much damage to warrant a shredder? Farzan runs an emblem. Yeah. I actually don't know because I haven't played Farzan much or at all. But if Farzan does damage, then 4-piece emblem is good, but otherwise the 2-piece energy recharge is great. Yeah. If she doesn't do that much damage, then you don't need to build 4-piece emblem. Just give her 2-piece energy recharge. Since there's a bunch of 2-piece energy recharge nowadays. There's Serenade. There's also the new witch
キ
set,
ラン、レイウ
which
リ
is
ディームド、
also
ボーダムオーラファーミング。
energy recharge 2-piece. She buffs animal damage. Yeah, and also she shreds animal, which is why she's a must on animal DPSs. Because you can rarely find any animal shredder. There's only C4 Gene that shreds animal. Who else was it? I think there's one more. Venti? Some of Ventis? No, I don't think so. I forgot. I think there's one more character that shreds animal besides C4 Gene and Farzan. Hmm. But yeah, that's why most of those animal characters are stuck with Farzan, because she's like your only source of shredder aside from C4 Gene.
Round. Probably not with
But C4
Senrone based
Gene,
on what we've seen of
not
her kit so
everyone
far,
has
but
C4
there's a
Gene.
very real chance that like when the Stellar Swirl carry comes
When will
out,
you be
you need
relevant?
Cryo on that
I
team.
don't know
It's
yet.
possible that the character is designed in a way that allows you to do a double carry playstyle with Maui.
Might not be
Mawika is
for
like
a while.
pure support where you just use
Like
your skill, your burst, and
menacing,
then swap out. Is
we could do
honestly
a
just
quick
not that good,
menacing.
right? When she came out, people were comparing her to Xiangling, and she was
You can do a quick
often
menacing call
side
once
grade
I'm on
if you
Genshin.
weren't spending field time on her. And now, with Xiangling being almost entirely phased out of the meta, obviously
Abyss?
that means that's not amazing. With
I don't
carries
know
just
yet.
getting stronger
Didn't Abyss
as a
just
whole,
reset?
the fact that she has some support
That's
in the
also
kit,
why
whereas
I'm
Xiangling kind of doesn't,
procrastinating.
does make her better than Xiangling in most
Or
of these
maybe
teams,
it's
but it doesn't make her good. This is
no,
not
it
really
doesn't
any teams
it
where just
didn't
EQ
recently
swap
reset.
Mawika is
Might be
all
halfway
that
already.
good. She does have damage percent, and she does have
Yeah.
scroll.
Have
but
you
with,
done
with
your
Garen
menacing
being also
already,
an off-field
Hydra?
pyro support that actually has
Menacing
real support in
Stygian?
the kit, and like a lot more damage
You're in
off-field.
Asia, right?
And with the new Celestial Gift
Yeah, we
set
can do
that
that.
is basically scroll for a different set
Later,
of characters,
though,
the value of that is becoming lower
I
and
don't
lower.
feel
So
like
if you're
playing
thinking of pulling
Genshin
Mawika
yet.
as a support, I don't think that's a
I'm
good
gonna
idea.
go.
Right now, the only
gonna
team that
go
actually uses
Valheiming for a
EQ
while.
Mawika, and that's like good, is the Molani team. And Mawika is like barely an upgrade to Pyro MC. She's more comfortable to play, but that's really it. And Power MC is not a great unit, so that should tell you how much she's doing for those teams. Another relatively important thing to mention before we get into the questions is Yeonsan, right? Yeonsan is not on her banner, and Shilonen is kind of a fraud. The difference between Yeonsan C6
See what I
and
mean
pretty
about
much anything
Shilonen?
else is pretty big. The most competitive alternatives to
Yansan
Yeonsan
also,
actually
C6
aren't
Yansan that is.
Shilonen. If you're able to do the very awful and terrible setups with Sucrose Cryo Infusion, you can actually do Sucrose, and it's kind of just better than Shilonen. It's honestly pretty similar to Eon San, but it's awful to play, so I don't recommend it.
They
Also,
build
even
their
if you're not
Toma
doing
for the
that,
next.
getting
No, you have Nicole. You don't need to build Toma if you have Nicole. You have Nicole, right? You were mentioning Nicole earlier, so no. Just use Nicole.
a second Cry unit is often
You can level 70 Toma so you can use him in theater. And that's good. Need burning for your Kinich? Yeah, you can burn with once you get the burning up, and then once you switch to Kinich, you can maintain the burning if you keep adding dendro. Cause you keep adding wood to the fire. That would sustain the burning. What team are you using? Are you doing Virgin? Did you add Hydro on the team or Cryo? Or are you using Iansan? Because even with Iansan, you don't need an off-field pyro. I don't have fixed team yet. Didn't you have Nicole? Do you have Nicole? Was that yes for Nicole? You don't have Iansan. Wait, what? As in even one copy of Iansan? Yeah, it's fine. You'd want C2 anyway for much better. Yeah, you pulled for Nicole, so you have Nicole. Then you don't need to build Toma then. Just use Nicole in your Kinich team in your grid. Then you don't need to burst on Nicole in that scenario. That means you can add Bennett as your attack buffer. You put, what's this? And then you can just feed the Nicole energy particles to Bennett. Since you don't want to burst on Nicole anyway, if you don't have a Hexarai DPS, which Kinich is not the Hexarai dude. Then you can use Nicole, Bennett, and Noblesse, and then your fourth slot will be the one using Deepwood. So anyone that has off-field hits, like I don't know, Dea, put Dea on Deepwood. You don't even need to build Dea. You just put four-piece Deepwood or Nahida. I forgot if Nahida's Strike Karma off-field hits triggers on burning. But if it does, then yeah. No, just don't use Xingqiu. You're gonna ruin your burning. Nahida, Deepwood, Kinich, Nicole, and Bennett. You don't have any attack buffer in that team anymore, so you might wanna use Bennett instead of Xingqiu. That's the thing that you want to keep in mind in team building. There's your DPS, and then hyper focus on buffing your DPS. You're looking for a shredder, buffer. There's different kinds of buffer. If your DPS is attack scaler, then you'd want attack buffer. Your options are Nicole, Bennett, Yansan, and or any TTDS catalyst characters. You can use TTDS. You can also cope with that if you don't have. But you probably have Bennett if you're not using Bennett on the other team. Yeah, so you have an attack buffer already. Then you're looking for a damage percent buffer. So where are you gonna look for in that regard? It's so hard to look for in that regard. Let me think. You could do a witch. You cannot trigger Cinder City, so you won't. Actually, you could still trigger. No, you cannot trigger Cinder City. Only the 12% Cinder City. Then you're looking for a shredder as well, so there's already Nahida on the food. That's your shredder. Sucrose. No, you don't want Sucrose on that team. Sucrose buffs EM, which Kinich doesn't want. Sucrose swirls Pyro, which Kinich doesn't want because Kinich is you know, Dendro. So you probably want Penet. Just double dip on the attack buff because you don't have anyone that can buff damage percent unless you wanna use that team with Sucrose. That works, I guess. Then you have a witch team. Then you can put Nicole on the witch set. That buffs your damage percent. Swirling just helps in the burning. No, no, you don't actually need to keep applying pyro. Applying Dendro on a burning character just extends the burning itself. And since your on-field character is constantly applying Dendro, you maintain the burning just by on-fielding Kinich. You don't need to swirl. Nicole doesn't. You don't need. Again, you don't need that much. Uh, that much pyro application. Again, how burning works. As long as you keep applying Dendro on a burning character, that will sustain the burning itself. That will not get rid of the burning at all. You basically have permanent pyro aura on on the enemy because it keeps on burning. Especially with Nahida, who constantly adds Dendro. I think that's how her Trikarma works. Different element themselves. Well, then don't use Kinich. If you're up against Hydrotolpa, you probably don't want to use Kinich. That's how Kinich works. If he doesn't work well against this enemy, then Ripperoni. Then just don't use Kinich.
Just better than getting Shilonen because Sitlali already provides a little bit
If enemy has different elements anyway, you probably won't be able to burn the enemy even if you have a off-field pyro. So yeah, there's no
of
point
shred. The
in
value
using
of the
Kinich
shred from
in
Shilonen is
teams like
significantly
that.
lower. Obviously, the first 10% of shred against enemies that have default resistance are the most important because enemies have 10% base resistance, and when enemies have positive resistances, the formula is just 20%
And what's
res means
better,
you do
because
20% less
Mavrika
damage, but
or
if enemies
off-field
have negative
Mavrika? Probably on-field Mavrika. But you have Mavrika, then you can use Mavrika on that team. Mm, no, Mavrika doesn't do that much. But you have a damage percent buff now from Mavrika. Most people probably forgot that Mavrika has a damage percent buff after she does her burst. She transferred the damage percent to the on-field character, depending on how much fighting spirit she has, and it's gonna diminish over time. I guess you can use Mavrika, that's your source of damage percent buff. Nicole, Mavrika, and Nahihi. Yeah, but if you're gonna use Mavrika on the other team, just put Bennett in the bag.
resistances, then minus 20% res means you do
Yeah,
10%
that
more
works.
damage.
Now
It's
you
divided by
can
2.
use Nicole
So,
Mavrika.
unless you're trying to brute force
Again,
things that have high power resistance,
there are some scenarios that Bennett over Mavrika is better in that team. Just double dip on the attack buff. Since you don't have any other options anyway, just use Bennett.
Shilonen providing scroll is like not that great. Like it's fine, but you already have a lot of damage percent, and Seedlolly can do scroll too.
You said build Mavrika. Yeah, just do that. Build Mavrika for Unfield.
which means that all
Even if you're doing sub, even if you're using Movika on the Kinich team, you can still keep her on Codex. She still does few damage, I guess. But if you're using Movika on Kinich teams, you probably want to put Deepwood on Movika since she has off-field hits. I mean, never mind, you have Nahida, so you don't need Deepwood on Movika. Ignore that. Just keep Movika on Codex so you won't have to worry about switching around builds or forgetting to put them back. Too much buff has diminishing returns. Yeah, it has. But if you don't have anything better, then too much buffs is better than nothing at all. Pure pull for Sitlali. Hmm. You didn't. I keep mentioning Bennett, but why are you against Bennett? Did you not build your Bennett at all? Did you? You probably want to use Bennett as well in your Mavica team. That's the DPS of Mavica team, around 100k more or less. Mine is lower than 100k because my Mavica in my NA account is level 77, level 8 talents. Or I just don't do the rotations right. Or my weapon sucks.
often
I have
you
fish on my
either
alt attack,
create a big
alt
problem
account.
for yourself
I have
by putting
Tuna on
Sidlali on a
Mavica.
set that doesn't give her energy, and then
Both of Sidlali or Colombina, yeah, it's hard to pick. Maybe just go for if that were my account. I don't entirely know what your account looks like, but based on what we were just discussing, maybe Colombina, so you could have a different team that's also an actual good team.
ボーダムラパミングを
So
引き
you
換えま
can
し
you
た。
can add a support on
ティラン、
your
レール
Flint's
リディーム
team,
ド、ボーダムオーラファー
and
ミ
you
ン
can
グ。
still use your Mavica on a Overload team. Just need to build Jabbers and Auroran. You don't need to build Auroran. Just put 4-piece Cinder Seek and Auroran. You don't even need to swap to Auroran. Auroran will just keep on applying Electro off field for the Overload. Can I use? Yeah, you can. But sure, if you want to, go if I swirl cryo. Yeah, but you're gonna need to build energy recharge and sucrose in that case. And if you swirl cryo, you won't shred pyro. It's hard to do a setup while infusing cryo, infusing your animal with cryo. Yeah, you can do that, but the animal infusion has priorities. Uh, Thingamajig, most I think on top of the priority is pyro. So if there's pyro and a cryo on the enemies, or if there are multiple enemies, it will prioritize infusing the pyro one. Most of the scenarios you're gonna be infusing pyro instead of cryo. And if even if you can swirl cryo and infuse cryo, you won't have the VV benefit of shredding pyro since you are swirling cryo. There's a good cryo support. Rosaria. But yeah. Stream is still set on Valheim. Oh, sorry. I'm not playing anything anyway, so just leave the game category for now.
hating your life,
You don't
or
have
you put
Rosaria, and you can use Kea, but that's a horrible experience. You're gonna have to build energy on Kea. Plus the uptime on Kaya's cryo application is short, so you're gonna run out of cryo application very fast. Mika, no, Mika doesn't buff attack. I think she buffs attack speed. and physical damage. And Mika doesn't apply cryo off field. His burst doesn't even apply cryo at all. It's just healing, which sucks. It doesn't even do damage. He just heals, which is really weird. I think there's like two characters that does that. Who was the other one again? Or the burst doesn't damage at all. It just heals. Oh yeah, Linnea. Linnea's burst doesn't. Wait, does Linnea burst do any damage, or it's just healing?
Shilonen on a different set, you put Shilonen Petra on Instructor, and, well, it's pretty bad uptime, so it's not that good. So, the two main supportive things that Shilonen provides, right, the Shred and the damage percent, are both a lot less useful. And even the healing doesn't really matter because these teams already have a healer. So, Shilonen just really doesn't do that much for the Mawika teams, and a lot of people will think, okay, well, I have Citlali, I have Shilonen, I could get Mawika and like have the full premium. That is not the full premium. That is like playing C0 Eon San. It's like, Shilonen is not it. If you don't have Eon San, you're generally better off playing a second Cryo over playing Shilonen, unless the enemy has very high resistances. So if you don't have Yansan and you don't want to do the combos that take advantage of the extra cryo application with double cryo, Mawika gets a lot worse. All right, that's it for the summary. It is now time to move on to questions from you guys. How valuable is Mawika's signature for a free-to-play account without mailed flower? Do you expect it to remain a good option for future Claymore characters too? Yeah, let's talk about Mawika weapons. Claymore characters in general tend to have some pretty big issues with weapons for people that don't buy the Battle Pass, because your alternatives to Serpent Spine are just not that good. In Mawika's case, mailed flower is relatively good, but in Melt Mawika, in order to get this extra damage, this buff on the big hit, you need to trigger a reaction on field on Mawika before you burst, which is rough. It is doable, you can do it, but those combos tend to be a lot harder. Right, the combo I mentioned a while back with opening with a charge attack and then using the burst does a
I don't know, is your account fairly new? Do you have a bunch of 5-star characters already? Because if no, then just go for characters. Just use the free-to-play weapons for now. It's fine. My Movica on my alt account was on Earthshaker for longest time. Ever since I got Movica. Oh wait, never mind. It's on the Tuna Fish rather. It was my NA account rather that has Earthshaker on Movica. Might even be the same case now. Let me check if it's on here. Nah, it's not here.
allow you to get.
You have enough character? I don't think so, because you're thinking of pulling for Colombina and Citlali. Those characters are good addition to your account compared to pulling for a weapon.